Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney and today I have another sponsored video for you by Skillshare. It's actually an update from the last sponsored Skillshare video that I did for you. And for those of you that aren't familiar, Skillshare is an online learning community for curious and creative people alike. They have thousands of different classes, that cover the gamut of all sorts of different creative endeavors, such as there's some sewing, knitting, embroidery, photography, all sorts of stuff, including classes on building your creativity and some personal growth and that sort of thing. And I also have a link down below for the first 1,000 people that click on it. You can get a free trial of Skillshare if that's something maybe as we enter the holiday season that you'd be interested in trying out. Definitely worth a try out because there are some really cool classes that are on there, and I'm going to talk about one that I did today. Skillshare is also curated specifically for learning, so there's no ads or anything like that, and an annual membership is less than $10 a month if that's something that you decide you would want to do, but definitely hit the link below for a free trial run of that if it's something that you think might be interesting to you. Okay, so back in October, I did a video with Skillshare and talked about the class, and I'm gonna totally botch the name of it, so let me just make sure I'm getting the name correct. The Perfect 100-Day Project, Your Guide to Explosive Creative Growth, and it's by Rich Armstrong. Loved that class, and decided to start my own 100-day project, which was just watercolor. Doing a little bit of watercolor for about, 10 minutes a day. I think it's 10 or 15 minutes a day is what I said, every day for 100 days. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, my plan was to kind of post on Instagram. I invited you all to follow along with me if you wanted to do the watercolor with me, or if you even were interested in doing your own 100-day project. I just found it fascinating, the whole concept of doing one thing very small for 100 days and just to see what happened, at the end of that, like what kind of creative growth that didn't have anything to do necessarily with what I was working on. Like I was excited to see my skills build with some watercolor, but also to see what else happened, basically. So I started that back in October, and I've fallen off the bandwagon, to be honest. So over on Instagram again, I was posting once a week I think about once a week, every 10 days or so, my progress and the things that I've been working on for each day. What I have found, though, is that the best room of light, and I think you need to have some good natural light in order to be able to effectively do some kind of watercolor, is I say that, but we're going to talk about that more in a second, is that it was in my kitchen, on my kitchen table. And so having to pull things out to do on the kitchen table, I found that being a little prohibitive, especially if I was just going to have time to sit down. And the reason I did the chunks for 10 minutes was because I wanted to be able to have time to do it every day, even if it was just for 10 minutes, even if it was not a whole project. If I was just working, that's the thing with watercolor, you can do it in layers. So, letting something dry for a full 24 hours is fantastic. Then you can go back and work on it a little bit more. But I found that even in those days that I was a little busier, tearing everything down and then having to set it back up took so much time that then all of a sudden I just fell off the bandwagon, and you guys know how that is with anything. So one of the things that Rich Armstrong says in this class, and I've gone back and I've rewatched it, which is another bonus of Skillshare. You can go back and rewatch the classes as much as you want and, really glean information as many times as it takes. But he did say that he has done a ton of different 100-day projects, and that, he has had some that's been successful and some that have failed, and that, none of them are really failures as long as you learn something from them. And that is what I learned, is that I need to make it even simpler than I was. So I think that me just setting a time limit of like 10 minutes a day was very doable, and I think that's a fantastic idea, and that I'm gonna use that going forward. However, I did not take into account the fact that I needed to set things up. Pull out the paints, get something to cover the table. So, and again, the reason that I was doing that is that my kitchen table has the best natural light in my house. Now, that being said, what I've decided to do, and I'm actually going to wait and I'm going to restart this. I love the idea of doing watercolor, and I mentioned this in the last video back in October, but I love the idea of just doing a creative endeavor that is not productive. So a lot of my creative endeavors, I knit quite a bit, I sew, obviously. All of those have an end result. They all have something that comes from them. A garment that I can wear, a useful thing. And I really like the idea of doing a creative something that did not have something that was necessarily useful at the end of it, such as watercolor. All it is, and with my level of watercolor, not only is it just it's not even a pretty picture most of the time, it's just paint blobs on paper. But I'm learning how the paint works. That's the thing with watercolor, the paint works a lot differently than other mediums. So it's all about the learning process, but I was very excited. I wanted not only to find out how my skills progressed with watercolor throughout that 100 days, but also how my creativity in and of itself took off. I have, right now, just with Tomcat Stitchery, just how it has just really taken off, which is fantastic, and I am so thankful and so blessed for everything that is happening here with this channel. I'm very excited for things to come, and I'll do another video on that a little bit later on in the month, real closer to the new year, really. But I, also have been doing part-time homeschool mom with the hybrid situation. Thank goodness it's hybrid and not just 100% virtual. So there's that blessing right there. And then just being, having everyone at home all of the time is a stressor that I had not been used to, so, prior to 2020. So I think recharging my creativity is more important this year than it ever has been before. And so I think that this project will really help that. I just needed to do some tweaking. So I fell off the bandwagon, but I really want to restart it. And so I'm actually going to restart it on January 4th. I thought about doing January 1st, but I think that's a Friday. And I'm like, well, that's an odd day. So start with a Monday. So January 4th, and then that takes me through April 14th, I think, for the 100 days. And I'm actually this time going in, and again, Rich said this in the class about the importance of making sure you had everything set up and have all your ducks in a row so that you are able to do whatever it is that you're going to be doing for 100 days, that it's easy and accessible. And I did not listen completely to that one. So I'm actually going to set up a spot in my dining room because we don't use our dining room hardly at all. And once the Christmas decorations are out of there, I'm going to, put my ugly tablecloth, wipeable tablecloth on a section of that table. And I'm gonna set up one of my studio lights in there, I think. It's not gonna be the prettiest thing because you walk into my house and that's what you see. My dining room is the first room to the left when you walk in the house. But I really think it's important. I really want to try and do this. So I'm actually gonna just leave my stuff out for 100 days. It's gonna sit on that table in that room. If we're having guests over, I guess I can tuck it away. And that's the other thing, with it being the current pandemic that we're in, we're not having guests over to our house, so it's really not that big of a deal as it would be any other time. So I'm going to set it up so that I can easily go. And I'm also not going to try and do like a whole project. Like I'm just going to work on, maybe one project per week or, even longer, and just try and get into more depth with some projects of watercolor, but not kill myself trying to do a whole piece in one sitting. If I have some days where I have more time and I want to sit and play a little bit longer, great. But if I have everything set out, then I think it's just, with watercolor, it really is just filling a glass jar with some water because you can wake up those paints again that have just dried overnight. That is a plus of watercolor. That is my plan, is to have an actual station set up that's just going to remain set up for the entire 100 days so that I can really take stock and see how, my creativity, not only my skills with watercolor, but also how my creativity takes off, which I think is the bigger picture here. Also, my son was showing interest when I started doing this the first time that he wanted to do a 100-day project too, which I think is great, and it's a wonderful thing to teach my children on goal setting and how to achieve those goals. So the fact that I fell off the bandwagon, I really want to restart that, and I do want to finish it. If for nothing else, just as a teaching moment for them. They're home a lot more than they have ever been before. So they're seeing what I do every day and what I do, throughout the course of the day. So I think them seeing me set a goal and then achieving that goal is really important. So that is my hope with restarting this. And and they saw me fail. They saw me fall off the bandwagon. I think that's important too, to see their parents fail and then to get back up and to try again. So really gonna try to set myself up for success this time and try and remove all of those obstacles that I noticed with the first time around. So that is my plan. January 4th, I'm going to be starting round 2 of my 100-day project. So if you guys would like to join me in whatever you're going to be doing, I've got 2 hashtags. I've got, hold on, let me get these right too, so I'm not saying the wrong thing. So the first hashtag, hashtag 100 days of watercolor with TK, with Tomcat, is one. But if you want to just do your own 100-day project, I'll also be using hashtag 100 days with TK, so with Tomcat. So those are the 2 hashtags I'll be using. So if you'd like to join along again with me, and hold me accountable, people. If you don't see me posting, I'm not going to post on Instagram every day. I think that's a little overkill. And no one wants to see my awful watercolor pictures. So definitely, yeah, keep me accountable. If it's been a while and you haven't seen me post anything, check in with me. Say, hey, you sticking with it? Because yeah, I planned on doing this video in December as kind of a, here I am, you know, I'm almost, you know, over halfway done with my 100-day project. Here's where I'm standing. And while I did make it a good couple weeks of doing it every single day, not having things set up and not having, you know, having to set things up and then take them back down and set them back up and take them back down really put a damper on things for me. So there we have it. Going forward, I'm going to be doing my 100-day project and just leaving things out, leaving them all set up. It's in a room that I don't use hardly at all, so I think that that shouldn't get my, you know, when things get too cluttered in my house, sometimes I get a tick. So hopefully that will negate that. I mean, we should be fine. So yeah, so that's what I've got in the new year that doesn't have to do with sewing, but something that I just wanted to come back and circle back around on because it is something I think I'm really passionate about doing, and just setting a goal and being able to accomplish that, especially in this year that we are having. You know, obviously there's vaccines that are starting to come out now, thank goodness. But yeah, I think we're still going to be in the thick of it for a little bit longer. So I hope you guys will join me. Let me know down in the comments if you do plan. And don't forget, there is that link down below if you want to do a free trial for the first 1,000 people that want to click that link and try the free trial as we wrap up the end of the year here. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. I will see you in Vlogmas if you're following along with that. Otherwise, I'll see you on Friday for the next fancy video. I'll see you then. Bye.